Imagine a car that makes a Bugatti look. Sounds insane, right? Well, meet the Zenvo Aurora, a machine with nearly 1,900 horsepower and a top speed that'll push past 280 miles per hour. Yeah, you heard that right, 280. And no, this isn't some concept sketch or a billionaire's daydream. It's real, it's Danish, and only 100 people on the planet will ever get their hands on one. This thing isn't just another hypercar. It's aiming to rewrite the rulebook of speed, design, and exclusivity. So today, we're breaking it all down. The looks, the insane engineering, the driving experience, and of course, whether this $3 million rocket actually makes sense. Trust me, you're going to want to see this. All right, let's start with what you see first, the design. Because let's be honest, the Zenvo Aurora doesn't look like a car you just drive. It looks like something you'd launch into space. That front end is razor sharp, almost like a shark's nose cutting through water. The entire body is sculpted with massive intakes, vents, and those insane curves that don't just sit there looking pretty. They actually guide air through the car to keep it cool at high speeds. And trust me, when you're pushing close to 1,900 horsepower, cooling isn't optional. It's survival. The carbon fiber work here is gorgeous, exposed in places so you can actually see the craftsmanship, and layered in a way that keeps the weight low, but the strength sky high. Those huge wheel arches, they're not just wide for style. They're housing monster tires that grip the road like claws. And then there's the rear. A massive diffuser dominates the back, almost like it was stolen straight from a Le Mans race car. And the taillights are these sleek, futuristic slits that just scream, "I'm from the future." Overall, the Aurora isn't about elegance like a Ferrari. It's about aggression, precision, and aerodynamics. It's a machine that looks fast even when it's standing still. Interior and driver experience. Step inside and you immediately realize this isn't your typical luxury supercar. Forget plush leather and champagne coolers. Zenvo built the Aurora's interior like a cockpit. The seats are slim, tight, and wrapped in Alcantara to keep you glued in place when the G-forces kick in. The driving position is low, almost like you're lying back in a fighter jet, and every control is angled toward the driver. It feels personal, like the whole car is designed around you. The steering wheel is stripped down, no unnecessary buttons cluttering it. Just what you need to control a beast like this. Behind it, you've got a racing-focused digital display that gives you only the essentials: speed, revs, and performance data. Forget about massive infotainment screens. This car doesn't care if you're streaming Spotify. Even the pedals feel different. Lightweight, precise, and built for track driving. And while yes, there are touches of luxury, stitched leather, carbon fiber trim, and details that remind you this is still a multi-million-dollar machine. Make no mistake, this cabin is all about performance. It's not trying to pamper you. It's trying to prepare you for takeoff. Engine and performance specs. Now here's where things get downright ridiculous, the heart of the Aurora. Underneath that sculpted shell lives a 6-liter twin-turbocharged V12 paired with electric motors, delivering a combined output of 1,850 horsepower. Just think about that for a second. That's more power than 2 Formula One cars combined, in something you can technically drive on the road. 0 to 60? Just 2.3 seconds. And if you've got the guts and, let's be honest, a private runway, this thing will top out at 280 miles per hour. And it's not just raw numbers. Zenvo engineered this hybrid system, so the electric motors fill in the gaps where the turbos might lag. That means instant throttle response, no hesitation, just brutal acceleration every single time you touch the pedal. The transmission is a lightweight 7-speed setup, designed for lightning-fast shifts, and the car offers multiple driving modes, so you can go from track day monster to something a little more tame on the road. Though, let's be real, nothing about this car is tame. It's savage performance, wrapped up in engineering precision, driving experience. But let's get to the fun part, what it's actually like to drive. Because all the numbers in the world don't mean much if the car doesn't deliver behind the wheel. Fire up that V12, and it doesn't whisper, it roars. The sound is raw, mechanical, and absolutely unapologetic. Add in the electric motors, and you get this futuristic undertone, like a jet engine spooling up beneath you. It's not just noise, it's theater. On the move, the Aurora feels razor sharp. The steering is direct, giving you immediate feedback. Every tiny movement of your hands translates instantly to the road. Cornering is brutal in the best way. The car feels planted, like it's glued to the asphalt, even when you're pushing speeds that would make most cars panic. Now, let's be honest, it's not comfortable in the way a Bentley or Bugatti might be. The suspension is stiff, the cabin is tight, and you feel every bump on the road. But that's the point. The Aurora is built to make you feel alive, to keep your senses firing at 110%. On the track, it's a weapon. On the road, it's, well, let's just say it's an event every single time you start it up. And honestly, isn't that what a hypercar is supposed to be? Exclusivity and price. Now, here's where things get really interesting. The Zenvo Aurora isn't just about performance, it's about exclusivity. Zenvo is only building 100 units worldwide. That's it. Once they're gone, they're gone. And the price tag? Around $2.8 to $3 million, depending on spec. For that kind of money, you could easily buy a Bugatti Chiron and still have enough left over for a Lamborghini Revuelto. But here's the catch. Those cars aren't nearly as rare. Owning an Aurora isn't just about buying speed, it's about buying something almost nobody else will ever touch. It's the kind of car you don't just see at a dealership. You see it once in a lifetime at a private collection or on a closed track. So really, the Aurora isn't competing with Ferraris and Lamborghinis. It's playing in the same league as Koenigsegg's and Paganis. Cars where rarity and uniqueness are just as important as performance numbers. Conclusion. So, what's the final word on the Zenvo Aurora? Honestly, it's more than just another hypercar. It's a statement. A car built not to fit in with Ferrari, Lamborghini, or Bugatti, but to stand out on its own is something truly rare and outrageous. It's savage performance, cutting-edge engineering, and exclusivity all rolled into one. But at the same time, it's not trying to be practical. It's not trying to be comfortable. It's a hypercar in the purest sense of the word. And here's the big question. If you had around $3 million sitting in your account, would you spend it on this Aurora? Or would you go for something like a Chiron, a Rimac Nevera, or maybe even 2 or 3 other supercars instead? Drop your answer down in the comments. I'd love to know what you'd pick. And if you enjoyed this breakdown of the Aurora, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next one. Because trust me, we've got even crazier cars coming up. Meet the Maserati MCPura, a car that takes what was already a stunning Italian exotic and refines it into something sharper, purer, and more timeless. We're talking the same 621 horsepower Nettuno V6, still mid-engined, still breathtakingly quick, but with updates to the design, a cabin draped in Alcantara, and a name that reflects Maserati's true DNA. So in this video, we'll break down the styling tweaks, the interior overhaul, the unchanged but still jaw-dropping performance, the price, and of course, whether this is really evolution or just a new badge. Let's dive in. Why Maserati changed the name? Let's start with the name, because it's not just a small detail. The MC20 name was tied to its launch year, Maserati Corse 2020. Great at the time, but 5 years later, your flagship supercar sounds old. Maserati didn't want their halo car aging by its badge. So now it's MCPura, and that word pura is key. Pure speed, pure luxury, pure Italian passion. It's Maserati repositioning the car as timeless, not tied to a calendar. Think of it like Porsche. They don't rename the 911 every few years. It's just 911, because it represents something bigger than a model year. Maserati wants the MCPura to carry that same timeless identity. A small change, but a powerful one. Exterior design. Step outside and you'll see the refinements immediately. The front bumper, the grille, the rear diffuser, all reworked for a sharper, more aerodynamic look. And these aren't just visual tweaks. Maserati borrowed cues straight from their track-only MCX Trema, a car that's basically a science project in aerodynamics. Sharper intakes mean better airflow to cool the engine. The diffuser channels air more efficiently, giving you that extra stability when you're pushing high speeds. It's subtle, but purposeful. Then we get to the wheels. You've now got a range of fresh designs, but one in particular is special. A callback to the 1953 Maserati A6 GCS. That's Maserati blending heritage into modern design. A small detail that enthusiasts will love. And colors? Maserati opened up the palette, with the standout being AI Aqua Rainbow. Under sunlight, it shifts tones like liquid metal, flashy, futuristic, and a bit un-Maserati, which is exactly why it stands out. In a world of safe silvers and blacks, this is a bold stroke. Interior refinements. Inside, Maserati has made changes that you'll feel the moment you sit down. Gone is the traditional leather. Instead, Alcantara takes over. Seats, dash, doors, steering wheel, it's everywhere. Why? Alcantara is lighter, grippier, and it cuts down glare when the sun hits the windshield. This isn't just for looks, it's functional. Motorsport teams use Alcantara for the same reasons. But Maserati didn't just drape the cabin and call it a day. They've etched intricate patterns into the material with lasers. Look at the seat centers, for example. It adds texture, depth, and a sense of luxury, even though the material itself is born from performance. So the vibe inside the MCPura is different. The MC20 felt plush, almost GT-like. The MCPura feels focused, exotic, like you've stepped into a supercar that wants to be driven, not just admired in a garage. Performance. Here's the part that hasn't changed. And honestly, it didn't need to. The MCPura still packs Maserati's Nettuno 3-liter twin-turbo V6, producing 621 horsepower. That's paired with an 8-speed dual-clutch transmission and rear-wheel drive. Performance numbers? 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just under 2.9 seconds, and a top speed of around 325 kilometers per hour. In other words, still blisteringly quick. And here's the thing. In 2026, plenty of rivals are going hybrid or fully electric. Maserati is saying, not us, not yet. This is pure combustion. No batteries, no weight penalties, just raw, high-revving Italian horsepower. For purists, that's huge. And it fits perfectly with the Pura philosophy, driving dynamics and usability. On the road, the MCPura drives much like the MC20, which is to say, spectacularly. The carbon monocoque chassis keeps weight down and rigidity up, giving you precision handling and balance. The aero tweaks make it feel more planted at speed, so cornering confidence is even better. But how about real-world driving? The Alcantara seats hug tighter than the leather ones, which is great on track, but a little firmer day-to-day. Ride comfort is stiff, but manageable. You'll feel bumps, but it's not punishing. Visibility is still the classic supercar compromise. Great forward view, not so great out the back. Storage is limited too, but that's expected. So yes, you can daily it, but it'll always remind you it's a supercar first. Why the evolution matters. So why go through all this trouble for a car that's mechanically unchanged? Because Maserati is refining, not reinventing. The MC20 marked Maserati's return to the supercar scene. The MCPura polishes that formula. It keeps the Nettuno engine, keeps the carbon chassis, but sharpens the design, focuses the interior, and gives it a name that won't age. This isn't about chasing trends. It's about making the car feel more timeless, more Maserati. And in a market where some brands reinvent every few years, Maserati's saying, we've already nailed it. Now, let's make it purer. Price and availability. Let's talk money. Maserati hasn't dropped final figures everywhere yet, but expect the MCPura to start just above the MC20. In Europe, that's around 240,000 euros. In the US, it'll likely be north of $240,000. Coupe or Cielo convertible, your choice. But dip into Maserati's Futuristic personalization program. With bespoke paints and interior trims, and you're quickly past $270,000. Availability? Europe gets it first, but Maserati plans to bring it to other markets, including the US and Canada. If you've got the cash, you won't be waiting long. Conclusion. So, who's the MCPura for? If you already have an MC20, I'd say keep it. The changes aren't drastic enough to justify a swap. But if you're entering Maserati's world now, the MCPura is the purest, most refined version of their modern supercar. It's exotic, it's aggressive, and it's timeless in a way the MC20 couldn't be. To me, it feels like Maserati finally declaring, this is our supercar identity. Take it or leave it. And if I had the money, yeah, I'd take it, especially in that AI aqua rainbow paint. Because if you're going Italian passion, you might as well go all in. What do you think? Smart evolution or just clever marketing? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed this deep dive, hit subscribe for more car reviews. All right, stop scrolling, because this is the car that might just flip the entire EV sports segment on its head. It's called the Alpine A390, and on paper, it's the French answer to Porsche's Macan EV. We're talking triple motors, up to 470 horsepower, insane torque, and a range that can stretch to 555 kilometers. But here's the kicker. Alpine didn't just build an electric car. They built an electric driver's car, and that changes everything. Let's dive in. Identity and market position. So, what is this thing exactly? The Alpine A390 is an all-electric sports fastback, scheduled for release in 2026. The 400 horsepower GT and the 470 horsepower GTS. And Alpine's aiming it squarely at the Macan EV, but with a sportier edge. Think less family-friendly SUV, more lean, athletic fastback built for people who actually enjoy driving. Design and exterior. First impressions? Sleek. The A390 carries that fastback profile with a lot of confidence. Low, sharp nose, wide stance, and those aggressive creases that scream aerodynamics. Up front, you've got Alpine's signature round lights reimagined in a futuristic EV style. And around the back, the coupe roofline flows into a sculpted tail, with aero elements clearly inspired by the Alpenglow concept car. This isn't trying to be subtle. It's designed to look fast, standing still. Interior. Inside, the A390 mixes driver focus with EV tech. The GT gets sporty seats, a 12.3-inch driver cluster, and a 12-inch infotainment system running Google's Android Automotive. So you've got Google Maps, Assistant, and EV route planning built in. Step up to the GTS, and things get spicy. Massaging Seatbelt bucket seats, a premium Deviolate sound system, and onboard telemetrics. It's modern and high-tech, but still keeps that cocooned cockpit vibe that reminds you this is a performance car first. Performance specs. Here's where things get exciting. Both trims use a triple motor setup. One motor up front, two motors on the rear axle. That means not only all-wheel drive, but also torque vectoring. Each rear wheel can be driven independently for insane cornering precision. The GT puts out 400 horsepower and 650 Newton-meters of torque. Good for 0 to 100 in 4.8 seconds. Step up to the GTS, and you're looking at 470 horsepower, 808 Newton-meters, and a 3.9-second sprint to 100. Top speed? 220 kilometers per hour. Now keep in mind, this thing weighs just over 2.1 tons, so Alpine's clearly optimized the software and torque delivery to make it feel sharper than the numbers alone suggest. Technology and features. On the tech side, Alpine's gone fully connected. You've got EV route planning, a digital driving coach to sharpen your skills, live telemetrics for track sessions, and of course, Android Automotive with Google baked right in. Safety and assistance features? Expect the full suite. Adaptive cruise, lane assist, the works. Though Alpine has been careful to keep the focus on the driver. not autopilot gimmicks. Driving experience. So what does that feel like? Imagine pressing the throttle and getting instant, punch-you-in-the-back acceleration, but without the weighty numbness some EVs suffer from. Thanks to torque vectoring, the A390 rotates beautifully into corners. It's precise. The front digs in, the rear pushes, and you're slingshotted out with a grin. Alpine even added a steering wheel overtake button. Tap it, and you get a temporary power boost. It's little touches like that that tell you this car was engineered with fun in mind, not just efficiency. Range and charging. Now, because this is an EV, you probably want numbers. The A390 packs an 89 kilowatt-hour battery. Range, up to 555 kilometers on the GT, or 520 on the more powerful GTS. DC fast charging maxes out at 190 kilowatts, which means 15 to 80% in around 25 minutes. That's very competitive. And here's something cool. It supports bi-directional charging. So not only can it power your house or devices, it can even send energy back to the grid. Price and value. Pricing hasn't been made official yet, but estimates place it between £60,000 and £70,000 in the UK, or around 125,000 Australian dollars. That makes it directly competitive with the Porsche Macan EV. So what you're really choosing here is, do you want the prestige of Porsche or the raw, lightweight racing DNA of Alpine? Because that's the value proposition, heritage, and brand story. Remember, Alpine isn't just some startup. This is a brand with Le Mans and rally wins under its belt. Lightweight, nimble, driver-focused. That's been their DNA for decades. The A390 isn't a random EV project. It's a continuation of that philosophy, brought into the electric era. Final thoughts. So what's the bottom line? The Alpine A390 isn't chasing Tesla-style gimmicks or luxury SUV comfort. It's aiming to be the driver's EV, a machine that feels alive in your hands, one that proves electric cars don't have to be boring. If you want a practical family crossover, buy a Macan EV. But if you want something that turns every drive into an event, this might just be the purist's electric sports car we've been waiting for. That's the Alpine A390, an EV that promises driving excitement without compromise. If you enjoyed this deep dive, smash that like button. Let me know in the comments whether you'd pick this over a Porsche Macan EV, and hit subscribe, because next up, we're putting this against the Lotus Emea. You don't want to miss it. This is the Cupra Raval, a city EV that looks like it just drove straight out of a futuristic video game. Now here's the wild part. It's not only designed to be affordable, we're talking prices starting around 20-something grand, but it also promises hot hatch performance with over 220 horsepower and nearly 450 kilometers of range on a single charge. Yeah, you heard that right. A compact EV that's actually fun and practical. And this isn't just hype pulled out of thin air. This car comes from Cupra, the same brand that turned Seat's sensible family cars into fire-breathing hot hatches. They've built their entire identity on performance and style, and the Raval is their boldest move yet. So in this video, we're going to break down what makes the Raval such a game changer. From its sharp design and tech-packed interior, to the real numbers on performance, charging, and price. Trust me, by the end of this, you'll know whether this little electric rebel deserves a spot on your wish list. Brand and model context. To really get why the Raval matters, you've got to know a little about the brand behind it. Cupra isn't your typical car company. It started life as the sporty performance arm of Spanish carmaker SEAT, and over time, it built such a strong identity that it broke off to become its own standalone brand. Think of it as SEAT's rebellious younger sibling, sharper, bolder, and always up for a fight with the big names. Cupra has built its reputation on cars like the Leon Hot Hatch and the Formentor SUV, vehicles that blend everyday usability with genuine performance credentials. And the Raval? Well, it's Cupra's first true city EV. The name itself is a nod to El Raval, one of Barcelona's most vibrant and edgy neighborhoods. That's the vibe they're going for. Youthful, urban, a little unconventional. The Raval actually began life as a wild concept called the Urban Rebel, back in 2021. It looked like something straight out of a cyberpunk video game, with oversized spoilers and neon accents. And while the production version has been toned down a bit because, well, reality, it still carries that rebellious DNA. More importantly, it's the very first of Volkswagen Group's brand new electric urban car family, which means it's not just about style. It's about opening the door to affordable, exciting electric mobility for the masses. As Cupra's CEO Wayne Griffiths put it, the Raval is about democratizing urban electric mobility. Translation? Making EVs not just accessible, but cool enough that you actually want one parked outside your apartment. And that's exactly what sets this car apart from the sea of sensible, sometimes boring, compact EVs out there. Exterior design and styling. Now let's talk about the first thing that grabs you, the way this thing looks. Because let's be honest, in the EV world, a lot of small cars tend to blend in. But the Raval? It refuses to disappear into the background. From the front, it's sharp and aggressive. You've got these triangular LED headlights that almost squint at you, like the car's daring you to make eye contact. Right in the middle sits Cupra's signature badge, outlined with those copper accents the brand is famous for. The bumper is carved up with deep angular vents, not just for show, but to help airflow at speed, though they also give the car a stance that says, "I'm more than just a city runabout." Slide your eyes to the side and the silhouette really comes alive. At about 4.2 meters long, it's compact, but it doesn't look stubby. The roofline arcs downward into a sleek wedge-like profile, while a sharp crease runs the length of the body, catching light like a sculpted muscle. The wheels are big for a car this size, filling out the arches with intricate Cupra designs that scream motorsport DNA. And if you notice the door handles, they're flush with the body, only popping out when needed, keeping those lines clean and futuristic. Now swing around to the back and you get one of my favorite details, a full-width LED light bar that stretches across the tailgate, connecting flared rear hips that make the Raval look planted and ready to pounce. There's even a subtle spoiler lip that hints at performance without being over the top. Every angle of this car seems to whisper urban hot hatch more than sensible EV. Sure, compared to the concept car, Cupra had to tone it down a bit. The crazy wings and wild frameless windows didn't make the cut. But the attitude? That survived intact. This is still a car that looks like it belongs parked under neon lights in a Barcelona side street, or blasting down a city boulevard at night. It's edgy, it's modern, and it's got a personality most small EVs can only dream of. Interior and cabin layout. Step inside the Raval, and you can tell straight away. This isn't your average budget EV interior. Cupra has a very clear philosophy. Even if the car is compact, the experience shouldn't feel cheap. And they've nailed that balance here. Slide into the driver's seat, and the first thing you notice is how sporty it feels. The seats are snug, with high bolsters that hug you like they're ready for some spirited driving, yet trimmed in recycled fabrics that remind you Cupra hasn't forgotten about sustainability. Copper stitching runs across the upholstery, tying the cabin back to Cupra's signature color scheme. It's a small detail, but it makes the whole place feel premium. In front of you, there's a chunky, flat-bottomed steering wheel with thumb grips and mounted controls that fall perfectly to hand. Behind it, a fully digital instrument cluster that you can customize to show speed, maps, or even charging info. Then your eyes naturally drift to the centerpiece, a massive 12.9-inch touchscreen floating in the middle of the dash. And don't worry, Cupra knows not everyone loves touch-everything controls, so they've given you a slim row of physical buttons just below for climate and quick settings. It's a thoughtful blend of tech and usability. The dashboard itself is clean and driver-focused. The center console has this floating design that frees up space underneath, which not only makes it feel airy, but also gives you extra storage spots. Around the vents and speakers, you'll spot more copper highlights, subtle but consistent, reminding you this is Cupra, not just another VW Group product in disguise. As for space, yes, this is a city hatchback, but it doesn't feel cramped. The packaging is clever. Thanks to the flat EV floor and optional panoramic glass roof, the rear seats feel more usable than you'd expect. Adults can actually sit back there without knees digging into the front seats. And the trunk? Let's just say it's enough for your weekly groceries or a couple of weekend bags, which is really all you need in an urban EV. Overall, the cabin mirrors the exterior. Bold, modern, and just sporty enough to remind you that this isn't an appliance. It's a Cupra. And that driver-first design language carries through everything from the seating position to the copper accents. It feels less like a commuter pod and more like a cockpit built for fun, technology and infotainment. Now let's talk tech, because in today's EV world, the screen is often just as important as the steering wheel. And the Raval doesn't disappoint here. Front and center, you've got a huge 12.9-inch touchscreen, the command center of the car. It runs Cupra's latest infotainment system, and the interface is styled with the brand's signature dark themes and copper highlights. It feels slick, fast, and more polished than what you'll find in some rivals. Naturally, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are built in, and wireless, because no one wants to mess with cables in 2025. Behind the wheel, there's a fully digital instrument cluster, customizable so you can decide what's front and center, whether it's your speed, your navigation, or your charging status. And if that's not futuristic enough, Cupra is adding an augmented reality head-up display. That means instead of glancing down, navigation arrows and speed limits are projected directly onto the road in front of you. Imagine driving through a busy city and having turn-by-turn directions floating right where you need them. That's the kind of tech that makes everyday driving smoother. But it doesn't stop there. The Raval is connected, literally. With Car2X communication, it can talk to traffic lights, warning you of changes ahead, or even communicate with other cars about sudden hazards. And for the urban jungle, you've got helpers like a 360-degree camera system and remote parking assist, meaning yes, you can step out and let the Raval park itself in a tight garage spot. Even the charging side gets the digital treatment. The system shows your range in real time, charging speed, and even recommends nearby charging stations on your route. It's practical tech, designed for real life, not just spec sheets. Put simply, the Raval blends fun, futuristic tech with convenience features you'll actually use every day. It's not just a car with a screen. It's a small EV designed to make city driving smarter, safer, and a lot less stressful. Performance and driving dynamics. All right, now let's get to the part that separates Cupra from the pack, how this little EV actually drives. Because Cupra doesn't just want the Raval to be a city commuter. They want it to feel like a hot hatch for the electric era. Under the skin, the Raval sits on the Volkswagen Group's MEB small platform, the same foundation that'll underpin other compact EVs in the family. But here's the twist. Cupra has tuned it differently. While other brands play it safe, Cupra leans into performance. The base version is expected to push out around 170 horsepower, while the top spec could climb to 226 horsepower. Doesn't sound like supercar numbers, right? But here's the kicker. In a car this small and light, that's plenty to make it feel quick off the line. We're talking 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in roughly 6.9 seconds for the higher output. Not bad at all for a city EV. And because it's an EV, torque delivery is instant. Tap the pedal, and you're already weaving through traffic before the guy in the lane next to you even reacts. This isn't just about straight-line speed either. Cupra has stiffened the suspension, lowered the ride height compared to its VW cousins, and sharpened up the steering response. That means tighter handling in the corners, less body roll, and a driving feel that's more hot hatch than EcoPod. Cupra is also expected to offer selectable drive modes, from Eco for conserving juice to Cupra mode, which sharpens throttle response and gives you the maximum punch. Combine that with regenerative braking you can adjust on the fly, and the Raval doesn't just move you from A to B, it lets you play with the experience along the way. And let's not forget, this is a city car first. Its compact dimensions, short wheelbase, and tight turning circle mean parking, U-turns, and darting through urban streets feel effortless. Yet when you hit the highway, it's stable and planted, thanks to that low center of gravity from the battery pack tucked under the floor. So no, this isn't a Tesla plaid killer, but that's not the point. The Raval is about delivering fun, everyday performance in a package you can actually use daily. It's cheeky, it's nimble, And it's got that spark of Cupra DNA that makes even the school run feel a little more exciting. Range and charging. Okay, so it's quick, it's fun, but how far can it actually go before you're hunting for a charger? That's the question on everyone's mind with an EV, right? And Cupra knows this. So, the Raval has been designed with city life and weekend getaways in mind. Underneath, you'll get a choice of battery packs. The smaller one, around 38 kilowatt hours, is aimed squarely at urban drivers. Perfect if your daily routine is commuting, grocery runs, and maybe the occasional late-night cruise. That version should give you around 250 to 300 kilometers of real-world range. But if you want to stretch things further, Cupra will also offer a bigger pack, around 55 kilowatt hours, pushing the Raval to about 400 kilometers WLTP. And realistically, that's more than enough for 90% of drivers, especially when most charging happens at home overnight. Now here's where things get interesting. Charging speeds. On a regular AC wall box, you're looking at a full charge overnight. Nothing surprising there. But plug it into a fast DC charger, and the Raval supports up to 120 kilowatts. Translation? You can go from 10 to 80% in just under 30 minutes. That's basically a coffee stop while you're on the highway, not an all-day wait. Cupra also makes charging smarter. The infotainment system isn't just about music and maps. It actively suggests nearby charging stations along your route, complete with availability and pricing. Combine that with preconditioning, which warms or cools the battery before you charge. And you're not just saving time, you're protecting battery health too. And because this is Cupra, they've even thought about the lifestyle side of things. The Raval supports vehicle-to-load functionality, meaning you can plug in a laptop, a camping light, or even charge an e-bike directly from the car. It's not just mobility, it's a power source on wheels. So whether you're zipping around the city or heading out for a weekend escape, the Raval promises range that feels practical, charging that feels painless, and enough flexibility to make EV life way less intimidating than it used to be. Sustainability and materials. Now here's something that sets the Raval apart from just being another small EV, the way it's built. Because Cupra isn't just selling speed and style here, they're selling responsibility. And in 2025, that matters just as much as horsepower or range. Step back inside the cabin, and you'll notice a theme. Recycled, eco-friendly materials everywhere. The seats? They're trimmed in textiles made from recycled plastics and fibers, some of which are literally fished out of the Mediterranean. The door panels, dash inserts, even the floor mats, they all use sustainable fabrics without feeling cheap or bland. It's Cupra's way of saying, yeah, we're sporty, but we're not careless. And here's where it gets clever. They didn't sacrifice style to go green. Instead, they turned sustainability into a design flex. The contrast copper stitching, the layered dashboard textures, the Alcantara-like finishes, it all feels premium. If no one told you it was recycled, you wouldn't know. That's how far material science has come in car design. Even the manufacturing side is greener. The Raval is produced at Cupra's Martorell plant in Spain, which has been moving towards carbon-neutral operations, using renewable energy and cutting down waste. So it's not just about what's in the car, but also how the car itself comes into the world. For buyers, this isn't just a checkbox. Studies show that over 70% of younger EV shoppers now look at sustainability as a deciding factor. So Cupra is basically giving you performance, looks, and eco-credibility in one package. That's not a compromise. That's a selling point. Bottom line, the Raval doesn't just talk the green talk. It builds it into the very fabric of the car. Literally. And that's going to matter a lot for the kind of people this EV is designed for. Competition and market positioning. All right, so we know what the Raval brings to the table. But how does it stack up when you put it against the competition? Because let's be honest, the compact EV game is heating up fast, and buyers have options. First up, the Volkswagen ID.2all. Same group, same platform, but a very different vibe. The VW is clean, friendly, safe, but some might say a little too polite. The Raval takes that same DNA and injects attitude into it. Sharper looks, sportier handling, and an identity that's less family hatchback and more urban rebel. Then there's the Renault 5 EV, the retro-styled icon making a comeback. It's cool, no doubt, but it leans heavily on nostalgia. The Raval, in contrast, is futuristic. It's not looking backwards. It's carving its own identity forward. And of course, you can't ignore the Peugeot E208 or even the Mini Electric. Both are stylish city EVs with plenty of charm. But here's where Cupra makes its play: performance and personality.
While others are content being cute or sensible, the Raval positions itself as the edgy, youthful, hot hatch alternative. The one that doesn't just fit your life, it amplifies it. Price-wise, Cupra knows it has to stay competitive. This isn't a luxury EV. It's aimed squarely at younger buyers, city drivers, and anyone who wants something more exciting than a gray box with a plug. So when you look at the lineup, the Raval stands out as the emotional choice in a segment full of rational ones. And in car buying, emotion usually wins. So yeah, while the others play it safe, the Raval takes risks. And that's exactly what makes it stand out in this crowd. Pricing and value. All right, let's talk money. Because at the end of the day, no matter how cool or futuristic a car looks, it has to make sense in the wallet. So where does the Cupra Raval land? Cupra hasn't dropped the final sticker yet, but industry whispers point to a starting price of around 25,000 to 28,000 euros for the entry version. That's right in line with its VW cousin, the ID.2 All, and comfortably below the Renault 5 EV and Peugeot E208. Now, considering what you're getting, the Cupra badge, sharper styling, sportier tuning, that's already a strong value proposition. Step up to the bigger battery and higher output versions, and you're probably looking closer to 30,000 to 35,000 euros. Still, when you think about the tech, the performance, and the design flair, that's a sweet spot. It puts the Raval within reach of younger buyers and first-time EV owners who want excitement without going broke. And here's the kicker: government incentives. In many European markets, the Raval will qualify for EV grants and tax benefits, which can easily shave a few thousand off the purchase price. That suddenly makes this car not just stylish and sporty, but also one of the most affordable ways to get into the EV game without feeling like you're settling for something boring. So in terms of value, the Raval isn't trying to be the cheapest. It's trying to be the smartest buy in its class. A car that balances affordability with personality. And that's something you don't usually get at this price point. Conclusion. So here's the takeaway. The Cupra Raval isn't just another small EV. It's proof that affordable electric cars don't have to be boring. You're getting sharp looks, a driver-focused cabin, real tech that actually makes your life easier, and performance that puts a grin on your face every time you touch the accelerator. It's not perfect. The rear space is decent, but not cavernous. And if you're chasing Tesla-style range, this isn't that car. But that's not what the Raval is trying to be. This is a city hatch with attitude, designed to turn the daily grind into something you actually look forward to. Against rivals like the Renault 5, Peugeot E208, and even VW's own ID.2 All, the Raval carves out its lane as the bold, edgy choice. The one you buy not just because it makes sense, but because it makes you feel something. And at a price that keeps it accessible. With Cupra's design flair and performance DNA baked in, the Raval isn't just Cupra's entry-level EV. It's their statement piece. A declaration that the future of affordable EVs can be fun, stylish, and just a little bit rebellious. So the real question is, do you want your first EV to blend in or to stand out? Because the Cupra Raval is definitely here to stand out. A tiny SUV where the seats slide around like furniture, the windows send text messages to strangers, and the speakers pop out so you can take the party with you. Sounds wild, right? Well, that's exactly what Kia is teasing with their brand new baby EV, the Kia EV2. This is their smallest electric SUV, set to launch around 2026. In the next few minutes, we're breaking down everything: design, interior, tech, driving experience, safety, price, the whole package. So buckle up, because this quirky little SUV might just surprise you. Exterior design. Now, let's start with the outside, because this is the first thing that grabs you.
The Kia EV2 looks nothing like a typical entry-level SUV. It's rocking Kia's new star map lighting signature up front, those sharp, pixel-style LED clusters that instantly make it feel futuristic. You can't mistake this car for anything else on the road. Dimension-wise, it's smaller than a Kia Soul, yet it carries this chunky, squared-off stance that gives it more of a rugged mini SUV vibe, rather than a tiny city hatchback. And that's smart. People don't want a cheap EV. They want something that looks confident. Around the back, the design stays clean but bold. You've got a full-width light bar, sharp geometric shapes, and even the rear bumper carries this futuristic edge. Honestly, if you covered the badge, you might think this was a concept for a premium European brand. And remember, Kia's designing all of these EVs, from the massive EV9 to this little EV2, to share the same family DNA. That means, even at the bottom of the lineup, you get the same visual identity as the flagship models. Interior features. Step inside the EV2, and it honestly feels like you've just entered a concept lounge, not a budget EV. Kia has gone all in on making this tiny cabin flexible, futuristic, and fun. First thing you'll notice, the sliding bench seats. Yep, the front and rear can actually move around, transforming the cabin depending on how you want to use it. Need more cargo space? Slide them forward. Want to just chill? Push the seats back and it literally turns into a lounge setup. But here's the quirky part, the message windows. You can display little text animations or icons right on the outside of the car. Imagine parking and leaving a glowing note like, "Charging, back soon," or even just a smiley face for the car next to you. It's playful, but it also has some real-world usefulness. Overall, the EV2's interior doesn't just try to fit people into a small car. It reimagines how a small EV can feel roomy, flexible, and even a little bit fun. Infotainment and tech. Now let's talk tech, because the Kia EV2 may be small, but it doesn't skimp on brains. Front and center, you've got dual screens, one for the driver's display and one for infotainment. Kia's been streamlining its UI across all their EVs. So if you've seen the EV6 or EV9, this will look familiar, just scaled down a bit. You'll find the usual suspects here. Navigation with EV-specific route planning, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and Kia's own connected services. What's cool is how the EV2 integrates EV charging info directly into the maps, so you're not guessing where to plug in. It plans your route around real-time charger availability. And because Kia is moving toward a more digital-first approach, you also get a built-in voice assistant. So instead of fumbling through menus, you can just say something like, "Find me the nearest fast charger," and it pulls it up instantly. Connectivity is another strong point. The EV2's system supports over-the-air updates, meaning your car keeps improving over time without you ever stepping foot in a dealership. Plus, with the Kia Connect app, you can precondition the cabin, check your battery level, or even send a destination from your phone straight to the car. Bottom line, even though this is Kia's most affordable EV, the tech feels anything but cheap. It's polished, smart, and future-proofed. Driving experience. All right, so how does this little guy actually drive? Well, remember, the Kia EV2 isn't built to be a highway rocket. This is a city-focused EV, and it wears that badge proudly. Behind the wheel, the first thing you'll notice is how light and easy the steering feels. Perfect for weaving through tight streets, parking in cramped spots, or just making quick turns downtown. Honestly, it feels more like driving a zippy hatchback than a traditional SUV. Suspension-wise, Kia tuned the EV2 for comfort. Think of it as soaking up potholes and speed bumps without rattling your bones. No, it's not sporty like a hot hatch, but that's not the point here. It's about making everyday commuting as effortless as possible. And of course, being electric means you get that instant torque. Even with modest horsepower, the EV2 takes off the line quicker than most gas city cars. Perfect for those stoplight-to-stoplight sprints. For range, Kia hasn't given us exact numbers yet, but based on similar EVs like Hyundai's Inster, we're probably looking at 180 to 200 miles on a full charge. That's plenty for daily errands and city commutes. Plus, you've got driving modes. Eco for maximum efficiency. normal for everyday balance, and a bit more pep in sport mode. So the driving experience? It's smooth, easy, and very well suited to city life. Think of it as a stress-free daily companion rather than a performance thrill machine. And honestly, that's exactly what most people want in a car this size. Safety and driver assistance. Now, when it comes to safety, Kia hasn't shared all the details yet. After all, the EV2 is still a concept. But if Kia follows the same recipe as the EV4 and EV6, here's what we can expect. Standard driver assistance tech like automatic emergency braking, lane keep assist, blind spot monitoring, and adaptive cruise control should all be part of the package. Kia's been really consistent about including these across its lineup, even in the more affordable models. Bottom line, when the EV2 hits the road, it should check all the boxes for daily safety. Whether you're solo commuting or hauling kids in the back, it'll have the modern safety tech you'd expect. Price and market position. So, when can you actually get your hands on one of these? Kia says the EV2 will go into production around 2026, starting with Europe and possibly rolling out to other markets later. That makes sense. Small EVs are hugely popular in Europe's cities. As for its competition, think Peugeot E208, Opel Corsa E, or even the MG4. These are all small, affordable EVs designed for city life, and the EV2 is Kia's answer to that crowd. Now, Kia hasn't officially announced the price, but here's the thing. This is designed to be Kia's entry-level EV. That means it should slot in well below the EV4 or EV6. Early estimates suggest somewhere in the mid-$20,000 range before incentives, which could make it one of the most affordable electric SUVs on the market. And don't forget, in many places, you can stack government incentives or EV rebates on top of that, which means the real-world cost could be closer to the low $20,000 range, or even less in some regions. So the way to think about the EV2 is this. It's Kia's way of saying, electric cars don't have to be expensive. It's small, stylish, and budget-friendly. A starter EV for the masses. Conclusion. So that's the Kia EV2. Small on the outside, big on ideas. From its funky sliding seats and picnic-ready flat floor to those quirky message windows and portable speakers, it's clear Kia wanted to make this more than just another budget EV. Sure, the range will probably land around 180 to 200 miles, so it's not built for road trips. But for city living, that's honestly more than enough. And with an expected price tag in the mid-$20,000 range, the EV2 could end up being one of the most affordable electric SUVs you can actually buy. It's practical, eco-friendly, and just playful enough to stand out in a world of serious, grown-up EVs. In other words, it's Kia's way of showing that electric cars can be fun, approachable, and accessible to pretty much anyone. But now the question is, what do you think? Do you like the quirky features, or do you find them a bit too gimmicky? Would you buy a car like this as your first EV? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what features you'd actually use in daily life. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this review of Kia's tiniest electric SUV, hit that like button, subscribe for more car reviews, and stick around. We've got plenty more EV content coming your way. See you in the next one.